Welcome to the Vault XL. This commentary is pertaining to Lori Vallow, Daybell. She is on trial for the murders of her children and the conspiring of the murder of Tammy Daybell and fraud. There are a lot of questions I had asked pertaining to her mental state, and I finally got my answer when I went back in late this morning listening to testimony from Melanie Gibb. There were signs all along that she was not stable. Now, one could say, well, Angela, people are entitled to their opinion pertaining to past lives, reincarnation, but you have to know that sometimes it just doesn't make any sense. Because if you believe in the scripture, you're going to know that there is no coming back. Now, could one have deja vu? Feel like they've been somewhere before, seen something? Of course, many people have had that happen. I have it often. I've been somewhere, and usually it's because I've dreamt the situation or circumstance or the place that I'm standing or the person I'm talking to. I dreamt it, but there was no past life. The testimony of Melanie Gibb shows that Lori was detached from reality, in my opinion, before Chad Daybell. And she says that in her testimony pertaining to past lives. And the one specific comment that she was married to a certain person that was in the scripture. That's what really floored me. That's what really floored me. And we have learned in dealing with people that all it takes is the right combination of chaos to breed. So when you have a person who already has certain things on their mind and in their thought process, and then they cross the path or paths with another person or persons, that's how the breeding begins. And that is what happened here with Lori and Chad and these other entities. At some point, all of these people, whether they believed in certain things that Chad spun or Lori spun, they had issues. Because to continuously hang around people and be in their company and go along with the rhetoric, that means you like whatever they're talking about at some point. Even if you have some reservations, you're still in their company. And that's where the problem starts. Is knowing when to check out. And nobody checked out when they should have. Charles should have checked out of the relationship with Lori, but he did not, and he lost his life. And you have his own text messages claiming his demise to Adam. I know they're setting something up, and he walked right into that web. You have Melanie testifying about the past lives. The Lord believes she had past lives and was married to some guy from the scripture. And these were thoughts she had before meeting Chad Daybell. This is very pivotal because some of us were believing perhaps this is all Chad's doing. He manipulated her. He put a lot of ideas in her head, which I do believe he did. But she already had some thoughts of her own besides her meeting up with him and listening to his rhetoric. Because Melanie also talked about the zombie situation that at first Lori was not comprehending that theory of zombies. But that's the point of a web. I've got to stay in your ear long enough for you to get it, to get you to come on board. It's called repetition. You repeat it enough, somebody will believe it. And that's the purpose of having an ear. You say it, you say it, you say it. And at some point, the person is either going to jump on board or they're going to disappear altogether. Unfortunately, these dodo birds hung on. Melanie, you get testimony that she never had the boy child, JJ. She confronts Lori and Chad about them implicating her, Lori implicating her. Lori tells her it was for God. This was God's doings, what he wanted her to do. So you get that testimony that she had no involvement in hiding the child out or allegedly conspiring to hide the child or any knowledge of a death or discardment of the boy child or the girl child so far. But where I have a problem with Melanie now after listening to some of her testimony late this morning is that she saw the signs that the woman wasn't rap tight. Because when I play this court TV episode, you're going to hear the obvious. Lori and Chad were chatterboxes. They weren't secretive in their conspiring and their thought process of these people who later turned up dead. And that's the gist of the story. They began at the end of the story, near the deaths of the people, telling people that these people were dark spirits, that they were tainted, that they were evil, that they signed contracts with Satan. And next thing you knew, the people disappeared, such as the children. The next thing you know, Tammy's dead. The next thing you know, okay, Charles was dead. So there were no secrets about how Lori felt about either person, her children and her husband. And she repeated this rhetoric to other people. And this is where I have the problem with these people. You heard the rhetoric and you went along with this BS of castings and prayer and trying to get the devil out of these people. But the gist is you didn't do it with the people. How are you going to get the devil out of somebody? You're not even with the person to get the devil out of them. As with exorcisms, you need a warm body. So there were no warm bodies to cast the devil out. Just a bunch of people praying in someone's house and giving stupid names to these people, Ned, Nick, Garrett, whatever. And as some people are saying, Lori may have actually believed this garbage. See, that's where the problem is going to come in as far as her complicity. Did she believe it? And did she orchestrate the deaths of the children and Charles and conspire about Tammy? Because at some point, she had to have known her children were gone because one, she never reported them missing. Her behavior after Charles's death, lighthearted, joking, smiling, grinning. You get that testimony from detectives. And the flip side is, well, everybody grieves differently. Well, that's not grieving yet. Right after somebody died, I wouldn't consider that grieving because it just happened. Yes, people are going to wonder. And to me, the evidence was there even for law enforcement that something was off with she and her brother right after Charles's death, waiting 40 minutes to call 911. That was a red flag. The jovial conversations, that was the sign. The evidence at the scene with the victim. Mr. Alex Cox not having a severe wound to the face or head. The signs were there. And what I'd like to know is, I want to hear the testimony from the daughter. What she said to law enforcement about the incident of the bat. Because could it be that they coerced the daughter to make up the version that they went about with the bat? Charles grabbing the bats. I have a problem with that. You also hear testimony from the babysitter, who was hired through a healthcare company app. But we learned that this was a ruse as well. She just hired that girl to take care of her dirty business in preparation and getting rid of JJ. She had no intention of using her after that first work session. And I think that's obvious in her testimony to the court. The signs were always there. The red flags were there. All these people who were listening to Lori and Chad, you saw the signs that she was unraveling. You heard her talk negatively about her family, and you should have called DHS because she was mothering children. You all should have had conversations with Charles that something was wrong with her and that her conversations were deviant. You also have Charles on a camera from the police talking about being called Ned and Garrett and being a demon before his death. How eerie is that? So see, none of this was done in secret. And you also hear that with this court TV segment. They willingly talked about these people being dark spirits, working for the devil, needing to die. Tammy's gonna die before 50, or when Chad turned 50. Charles and JJ are going to be in an accident in Texas. She'd be surprised if he comes back alive from his trip. Who talks like that to another human being about the death of a man and a son? So Melanie's out here being her friend, listening to this garbage. Alex as well. The other Melanie and these other entities, other friends of these groups or whatever, you all listen to this garbage. And that's the part of the story that's even more baffling. They didn't hide their feelings of these ghosts, demons, zombies, dark spirits, castings. They talked about it with these people. And yet you all went right along to the prayer circle when people could say the same about you all, that you all were dark spirits. Because at some point you all should have seen that something was off between Lori and Chad. The fact that they were openly walking around affectionate and they both were married. And you all are supposed to be Christian people. So that means you were aiding adultery. Don't talk about that. Hey, let's call it straight. You all were willingly aiding adultery. When you saw the signs that they were giddy, too friendly, affectionate, you knew better. But you still rode the ride. The signs were always there. And Melanie Gibb, you're very gullible. I didn't like to accuse you or anybody of doing something without a receipt, but listening to your testimony, you saw the unraveling of your friend within a year or two with these crazy thought processes and talking about castings and all this nonsense, zombies and past lives and being married to some guy in the scripture. At that point, you should have known, okay, Lord, what's going on with you? You weren't talking like this before. Okay, you had some theories about past lives, but now you're talking about being married to somebody. Then you're talking about you and Chad were married once in past life and you lived different lives. And see, that's when you should have known better. These people were already off before they met each other. That's what I was looking for in the testimonies. Evidence that Lori was off kilt before meeting Chad, and Melanie testified that she was. She had some whack theories. Now, everyone's entitled to their perceptions of life and past lives and reincarnation. You're entitled to that, but I'm not going to listen at that type of talk. Because once you start talking about you were married to somebody that's in the Bible, I don't really have anything to say to you. Because you see, one thing begets another, and that's what you see in this storyline. 1 minute you're talking about past lives, the next minute you're talking about dark spirits, zombies, casting out the devil, people signing contracts with the devil, children. JJ wasn't even of the age of what the Bible would consent to having knowledge of wrong and right and wrong, from my understanding of the scripture. So how could a child sign a contract with the devil? See, the signs were there. And they were repeating this garbage to these so-called friends and associates. And none of them didn't think to say, hey, let's call this man Charles and say, hey, there's something going on with your wife. You need to check her into a hospital. You need to do something. And she doesn't need to be around children. She was already ill. And the perfect setup was Chad Daybell and these other gullible entities that rode the ride. And they didn't realize how deep the hole was, the rabbit hole, until the kids went missing. And then law enforcement became involved and started knocking on the doors, asking questions. And by then, it was too late. Thank you for joining. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $sign DeAngie, 129 Cash App, all stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. This is the dismantling of Lori Vallow Daybell, this podcast group of so-called friends, the stolen lives of Tammy Daybell, JJ, Tyler, Charles Vallow, and also the downfall of Chad Daybell. Thank you for joining me.
Mrs. Texas, a blonde bombshell wife and fitness model. At another point, she was a loving adoptive mother of a special needs boy named JJ. Then, at a much darker point, she was part of a doomsday cult preparing for the end of times, declaring people as zombies. This is just a snapshot of the complicated, layered life of Lori Daybell, a woman married 5 times with 3 children, accused of killing one of those husbands, 2 of those children, and running off to Hawaii with her doomsday prophet husband, number 5. Now she's in Idaho on trial for the murder of those 2 children, JJ and Tyler, and Tammy Daybell, the first wife of that 5th husband. It's a trial filled with tales of money, sex, power, and religion. Tonight we are live from Boise, Idaho, where the judge has banned cameras from the courtroom, but we are bringing you all the big moments from our correspondent Chanley Painter, who has been inside the courtroom, and we are playing audio recordings of the most compelling testimony as our in-depth coverage of Idaho versus Lori Daybell, the Doomsday Cult Mom murder trial continues.
All right, everybody. Brief intermission. Very sick and sad, pathetic story.
Joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Covered a lot of cases, covered a lot of murder trials, and unfortunately, a few too many murder trials involving parents and children. It's tough. It's tough. Covered a lot of spousal murders too. And in these types of cases where it's one member of the family accused of murdering another member of the family, oftentimes the evidence it's tough to come by the evidence, right? You have to rely on perhaps forensics, maybe DNA, fingerprint, murder weapon, something like that. You usually don't have witnesses. In this case, there are witnesses with important information who've been testifying out in Idaho, taking us inside the world and literally inside the home of Lori Daybell. So important. I mean, this is, first of all, you've got to get inside this cult that was forming, right? This doomsday cult. And we've got members coming in and explaining what everyone was talking about. And then the circumstances surrounding the disappearance and death of the children. All this being discussed. Lots of information, observations, because they're inside her home as well. So for prosecutors, in a case involving a parent accused of conspiring to murder a child, this one we've got witnesses. What we also have is Lori Daybell, Lori Vallow Daybell, Lori Ryan Vallow Daybell, the defendant speaking openly in this case and saying things that oftentimes in murder cases with parents. You're not going to get statements like this. Everything's behind closed doors. And then they don't talk.
Exactly.
They just don't talk. That's not the case here.
Mm-hmm.
Lori Daybell's been speaking to those other friends, cult members, etc. They've got her speaking to police. There's a lot of chatter from Lori Daybell that's being used against her. So you've got the witnesses, you've got the defendant's own words. And a lot of times, what you don't have in these cases where you're talking about spousal murder, right? And in this case, Tammy Daybell, one of the victims in the case, is married to Lori's future husband, right? These relationships are often secretive. No one knows about it. They kind of hide. They sneak around. That's not the case here. That's not the case. Chad and Lori were openly cheating in front of people. It's out in the open.
Yes.
My goodness. It's at the track on the campus of BYU. A little PDA action there. Like, first of all, you're not supposed to do that. Like these two. Why are you even doing that? But doing it openly, people can see it. People like friends, people who ended up being what? Witnesses in this case. So all these things, you're speaking about it and being very open about the cheating. I mean, these are facts in the case. These aren't like, the prosecutor is alleging. No, these are, come on, these are facts at this point. Super clear to everyone. Now, the question is, did they openly commit murder in this case? And when I say openly, I mean, are they doing it at a time and in a place where there are other people? And today we're going to talk about that on this program, because I think arguably there is evidence of now the actual murder itself, exactly. No. But the circumstances surrounding all of it is being done in front of people. You've got 3 people allegedly conspiring, but they're not alone. They're not alone when this is happening. Once again, I'll say investigators did a great job here uncovering and unearthing literally all of the evidence in this case. So the pressure's on the prosecution to bring it home because the evidence is there.
Exactly. Exactly.
But can you marshal the evidence?
Exactly.
Can you get this jury focused on the elements of the crime? Can you tie Lori to this conspiracy? That's exactly. The challenge.
That is the challenge.
All right. We're at the end of the week. It was a big, big week inside that courtroom. Normally what I would do right now is I would roll out a montage and show you all these great moments, all the video of all these big things that have happened in the courtroom. But we can't do that because the judge has banned cameras from the courtroom. But they haven't banned Court TV legal correspondent Shelly Painter. And she is with me live outside the courthouse in Boise, Idaho tonight, Shelly. I mean, I'm exhausted here in the studio. I know there's the adrenaline out there as well, right? When all this new information is being uncovered and you're covering it. But my guess is this weekend, Chanley's going to crash, rest up, and then get ready for next week. So usually at this point of the show, we do the 3 big moments a day. But let's take a look at the whole week here. Let's take a look inside your reporter's notebook at your 3 big moments from this week. What do we have?
Great to be with you, Vinny. Court dark today, but plenty happened this week. And yeah, those 12-hour days do catch up with you. So I look forward to resting up because I already have my ticket for Monday morning inside that courtroom week 3. But let's look back at this week because for my reporter's notebook tonight, I wanted to focus on Lori's own words. What did the jury hear this week from Lori herself? Because this is a trial, Vinny, as you said. She may not take the stand and tell the jury herself answers that they want to know about what happened. So what have they heard? Well, I think this number 1 moment, Vinny, may be the biggest moment of the entire trial at the end of this, and that is when her son Colby Ryan took the stand earlier this week, and how the tensions ran high inside the courtroom, but it peaked when a jailhouse phone call was made by him to her. She's incarcerated. His siblings are found in her new husband's backyard, and this is how she handled that call. Let's watch. I don't have anything else to say. You obviously don't know, so you weren't there. You weren't there, some of us there. My mom wasn't there, the police weren't there, the FBI weren't there. Nobody was there. Yeah, because they know exactly what happened, and they love me, and we're still together forever. They love me, and they are fine, and they know the truth, and I know the truth. And where you want the people that do. Do you think that she told me to call you on? Go ahead, sis. The whole world.
Sorry about that.
They don't know.
Let me stop right there. They know me. They know the truth. Yeah, I know they know the truth, Lori. Because we're not even about to sit here and try to figure out how in the hell you, Alex, and Chad killed these kids. Because it's what most people don't want to do, is visualize the deaths of other people. And these are children. And we may never know how you all murdered these kids. But you are bold to even sit here and say something like that to your own child. They know the truth. We are together forever. We are together forever. So see, this is where it's pivotal pertaining to this trial. The prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she conspired to kill her children. That's what the prosecution has to prove. It's that she conspired, she ordered, compelled, asked these entities, Chad and Alex, to kill her kids, whether she participated by hand or not, but by mouth. So 12 members of the jury have to decide that she told these two guys, a brother and a lover, to kill her kids. And when you hear her speak here, as I once said, you don't have to believe what she believes, but she believes all this garbage that was fed to her in her own thought process. The stuff fed to her by Chad and her own thought process. And you hear it being said to her own son while she's incarcerated. They know the truth. Nobody was there. Police, FBI, family members. You weren't there. I was there. They were there. Yeah, we know they were there. But they are no longer. And this is a sick commentary when she knows what she and her husband did to those children. Okay? And what was done to Tammy as well, and Mr. Charles. Because you covered it up. And as someone once said recently, and this is the spoken word here, if you had no problem with God, Jesus, ordering you to kill these people as dark spirits, zombies, you should have no problem in admitting the who, the where, the why bingo card. And that's where Lori and Chad fail. See, you've been spinning this web to these people for some time, your friends or associates, that these people were dark spirits, zombies, had a contract with Satan, so on and so forth, okay? You believe this. So if you believe it, and you believe that you two were ordained to be together, sealed together by the church, God sent you a message and told you to kill these people, then you should have no problem, Lori Vallow Daybell, admitting to law enforcement and the court why you killed your children, why Charles was killed, and why Tammy was killed. And that's the one thing she hasn't done. Will she take the stand? I doubt it. She won't last a day on the witness stand, because she won't be able to logically explain all of this chitter-chattering in interrogation rooms, chitter-chattering through texts and emails, the live feed from the police when they went to the scene of the crime when Charles was murdered, this jailhouse conversation, so many other conversations with Melanie and everybody else. She won't be able to break it down thoroughly. But that's the burden of the prosecution, not the defense. They have to prove she conspired to kill these people. And as you hear with Mr. Vinnie Politan, she laid it out foolishly. She and Chad by talking too much. They told on themselves. And you can't logically explain why you lied about the children and lied about your friend having a boy child, lying that he was here, there, over there, and all these different places when he wasn't. He was dead, buried in a shallow grave on Chad's property. So there's no way you're going to be able to say, I had no idea he was over there. I had no idea Tyler was over there. I had no idea. Because here in this conversation with her son, she's basically letting you know, you don't know what happened, but they know. We're all together forever. Well, explain that then. She can't, because she knows what she did. And she knows it was wrong. Mentally ill, disturbed, dissociative personality, whatever the hell they're going to diagnose her and say she has. When you lie and cover up something, that means you have the fortitude and the knowledge to do so. If she was schizophrenic, ill, she wouldn't have that fortitude to cover up the lies. And that's where knowledge comes in, that she knew better, because she covered it up. And she lied to entities about where the children were. And once again, if you have no problem with why you did it and the Lord told you to do these things, then you should have no problem in admitting why you did it. But she can't, because she knows it was wrong.
Vinny, what an agonizing phone call. At one point, she laughs as he's trying to confront her, demanding answers. And she's saying, oh, JJ, Tyler, they're fine. They love me. We're still together. One day, Colby, you'll understand. Just this bizarre, odd responses from the woman, this jury looking at her while this is being played. And of course, at one point, Colby himself on the stand while it's being played. The moment she laughs in the call, he darts his eyes over, glares at her in that moment. I mean, that.
I'm going to interrupt for just a brief second. I'd like to know, what did Lori mean by, you don't know what I've been through? What are you speaking of, Lori? The hard life you had, the different marriages, the breakups of the marriages. Is that what you're referring to? Moving around most of your life with your children, house to house, city to city, state to state. Is that what you're speaking of? Because what context are you speaking of? You don't know what I've been through. Well, explain to us. Because what people are going to wonder from that commentary, is that the real reason why you murdered your children? Because you've been through something with them in life and you've just had enough. You've been disappointed, let down. You haven't reached your peak in life. You haven't strived for the best or had the best. Is that what you're speaking of? So you decided to take your jacked up thought process and intertwine it with Chad's jacked up thought process. And this is what you all came up with. Well, we like each other. We're attracted to each other. Let's knock these people off, get rid of them. We can still stay a part of the church, because this is how you know that their mindset is warped, that they view murder higher than the image. It's okay to murder people just so we can stay in the church and not look bad. But you're walking around holding hands with a married person, secretly, entangled, but then you were also in public together. You have detectives testifying to that in court past week. There was no hiding it. Maybe the spouses didn't know, but others knew. And they had no problem with doing so. And the fact that she mentioned that to Kobe about children being sick, her having to take care of them. What the hell does it have to do with you murdering your child? What the hell are you talking about? So that leads you to wonder if perhaps there was something wrong with her. There's something wrong with her. that she's not this person that people thought she was while she was being a wife and a mother. Because you even hear Kay speaking highly of her, which I'm sure took a lot of her to even say anything positive about her, knowing she's killed these people. But she's speaking on who she thought she was at the time when she knew her. But maybe all that was a fraudulent Lori, because you do hear of many people hiding their true feelings about their lives, and you don't really know what people are thinking. You're looking at the shell, an outer shell, nice looking person, pretty hair, nice home, nice car, but you really don't know what's inside the human being, which is usually fluff, cotton. They're just a stuffed doll, empty inside. There's nothing in there, mush. And perhaps this is Lori Vallow. She was mush inside, empty inside, never attaining what she really wanted, which was more. Wanting a perfect life, perfect kids, perfect home, perfect house, perfect husband, but perhaps it wasn't good enough. These men she had met through her life, and I think it's obvious for someone in their 40s to have 5 husbands. Come on, everybody, stay woke. She was doing what a lot of people do. I believe she was riding the ride, Lori Vallow. She rode the ride. Get with this person, it don't work out, boom. Pick up another one, boom. That don't work out, boom. Pick up another one, boom. Pick up another one. Riding the ride, but empty, unhappy. And then one day she meets this guy, and the universe meshed evil.
That to me may have even sealed the deal. Who knows, Benny?
It's extremely powerful because it's coming from another family member. That's what makes this so extraordinarily different than all the other evidence. There's so many times in these cases where a jury's going to look for a little help. Or you're a family member. That's your mom. That's your mom. And you think she did this. You're calling her a murderer. That is powerful stuff. That is persuasive stuff, because it can put a jury in a comfort zone where, okay, her own son is calling her a murderer, so how much of a leap is it for us if we believe the evidence is there to come to that conclusion, right? That's such an important moment. The other thing about this phone call that is so significant is the tone of it as well. The tone. And she may not take the stand. She may not have to answer tough questions, but Colby did that. This was her cross-examination. This was really the day for the jury to judge her.
Exactly, Vinny. And this is likely not the only jailhouse phone call they will hear. Of course, they heard that awkward phone call between her and her new husband when his house and his backyard being searched. He's in the driveway and, hello, I may not talk to me later. Then he's arrested. So they've heard that. But this one, very different, right? He's calling his mother a murderer and accusing her of murdering his siblings. He's that confident in that.
Let's interject right here. Chad said that to her, you may not be hearing from me later. Why not? You didn't do anything. Oh, that's right. You know that there's some dead kids in your backyard. So hell yeah. Ain't gonna be no talking later. See, this is how stupid these people are. You're not even supposed to be talking on the phone. As most people said, the Lord knew what she was saying in that conversation to Chad. Oh, hi, how's everything going? What can I do for you? Nothing. Because the bang was coming. The bang was coming. There's nothing you can do for him, Lord. And you knew not to say anything incriminating on that phone. But you sure messed up in this phone call to Kobe, which shows she knows right from wrong. I believe her mindset is warped. But when you lie and covet, then that shows you have the fortitude to know what is right and what is wrong. because she could have easily admitted to police why she did the things that she did. But she covered her tracks along the way, she and Chad, and that shows you were trying to cover the crimes. And if you really believe in this mess you've been putting out to the public about doomsday and castings and evil spirits and dark spirits and contracts with Satan, you wouldn't have any problem with telling law enforcement why you killed these people and why they were buried in your backyard. You would have no problem with saying, well, they were dark, they were zombies. God told me to kill them. God told me that we needed to be together, me and Lori and myself, and these children were not a part of the plan of the 144,000. You have no problem with telling it. I agree with that. You'd have no problem. But you couldn't. And you know why you couldn't. Because you know damn well that once you confess to that, you couldn't take it back. And nobody's going to give you a bond, no judge. And 12 members of a jury are not going to let you walk free in murdering all these people because God told you to do so.
And that how powerful that is to a jury, but also we expect Lori's sister, Summer Shiflett, to take the stand. And she also called Lori in jail. And from what I'm hearing, it's even more contentious, Vinny, than what we heard from Colby. So more to come for this jury.
Absolutely. Wow. Okay. That's number one. What do you have at number two this week?
Okay, more of Lori's words, and this one also revealing, this is how the week culminated. So yesterday we have Detective Stubbs from the Rexburg Police Department on the stand. He is one of the officers who conducted the welfare check for J.J. Vallow, November 27th, 2019, after Kay Woodcock called, hadn't heard from J.J. in so long. So several detectives show up at this apartment complex. I've been there. They knock on the door, and the jury sees body cam video. Of course, our cameras aren't in the courtroom. We are not able to bring the actual body cam, but I was able to watch it, and it shows Lori in her kitchen living room area, black sweatshirt, her hair's all done, she's makeup on, and she's working these officers as best she can to manipulate this story about JJ being in Arizona. Well, we do have the audio from the welfare check that we can play from yesterday. This is what the jury heard. They also saw it, but let's watch.
All right, everybody. That's all she's known to do is manipulate Lori. And what you have to ask yourself is the obvious question. If you're good at doing this at 40 plus years of age, manipulating and coveting and covering, had you been doing this beforehand, before meeting Chad Daybell? See, that's another question that goes to, is she mentally ill? Does she know right from wrong? Did she really believe in this doomsday casting and all this zombie talk? Who was she before? Because how do you go from allegedly a good mother, wife, she seemed attentive, caring of her children, son testifying that she was a good mother, to this person here who hooks up with this guy and is promoting this doomsday BS and 144,000 and gathering of people, trying to get her friend Melanie Gibb to come along and tell her to leave her children, which obviously makes you believe she did believe those things that they were spewing out. But how do you go from believing that junk to then murdering people? How do they coincide? But as I said on my community page, there are radical people in all walks of life, whether they are Christians or non-believers. And we've seen that with people who are anti-government, anti-black, anti-Hispanic, anti-gay, and just anti-whatever. You can be radical whether you are Christian or not. And many people abuse the scripture or the religion that they're in, and they put in their own idealisms, and that's what you have here. Warped thinking meshed with alleged Christianity.
This letter responsive to her, right? To his sister, who got $1 million when he died. We got nothing for being raised in jail. All the kids got nothing. She got nothing. So I think she was going to try to sue me for his or
You see, she's angry about not having the money.
He's my son. I adopted her. 2 years. We got up with he was 8 months old, so 2 years. She does nothing like the custody trouble. So I don't tell people the truth about where what we're doing because of those reasons. So I look like a suspect, but I'm not a good person. Raised all of my kids, have done everything that I'm supposed to do in life, but this one's not to be trouble.
She goes on to say that her other brother, Adam Cox, who we also expect to testify, is out to get her. He's going to murder her for her $2 million life insurance policy. And she says, hey, I just don't want to be found. All these people are after me. Kay Woodcock's the devil. And she's just weaving this. And many of these officers already know that she is married to Chad Daybell, and both he and her and Alex are pretending they don't know each other, and it's just red flag after red flag. And what a moment that was for this jury to see that body cam yesterday.
And I think they'll also take away from that. This is a wellness welfare check for J.J. Vallow, a little boy with special needs. And what is she talking about? Herself. To me, that speaks volumes about who she is. And to me, if I'm on that jury, I think it's a lot, again, trying to make it easier for a jury to believe and understand that a mother could do this to her 2 children. When everyone's looking for little JJ, she's talking about herself. And I think the jury will get that vibe, especially if there are any parents on that jury. Big. Anytime you hear from the defendant, I mean, it's so significant, so important, and this is so close to the time. All right, what do you have for number 3?
So number 3, also Lori's own words. Now, the jury didn't see the body cam video after Charles Vallow's death, but the prosecution, over defense repeated objection, has been able to give these jurors insights to what happened to Lori's 4th husband being shot by her brother, Alex Cox, by detective after detective from the Arizona Police Department, Chandler, Arizona Police Department. And they're hearing the detectives describe what we're seeing right now. Lori's demeanor, her words, her behavior after her 4th husband is murdered, well, allegedly by her brother. So we do have sound from the detective Cassandra Wycliffe from the Chandler PD who interacted with Lori, who describes her behavior as odd. Let's watch.
She didn't have much of a reaction. When she was informed that Charles was deceased, she had responded that she already knew. She appeared calm, very non-emotional, was kind of hanging out and seemed to be just having kind of some general conversation, not really upset, just kind of, at one point she was laughing. Just kind of was standing around.
So that's the description the jury is hearing, that they can look at Lori in the courtroom and see kind of her odd demeanor there and listen to the other audio and put 2 and 2 together. But we have the body cam video just to put Officer Wycliffe's words into focus of what she was talking about. Let's watch.
Gotcha. How long you guys lived here? How long you lived here? Oh, geez. Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
She likes to laugh a lot in those moments, and so who knows if the jury will actually be able to watch that, but that's exactly what the officer was describing.
Okay. A human being has just been killed, has been shot and killed. If you are there when any human being dies, you would expect some sort of, oh my goodness, type of reaction. Now you take it a step further. This is a man that you were married to for 15 years. The father of her son, her husband, is shot and killed. And there's no, this is unreal. This is unreal. If the jury sees, the description was great, by the way, by the officer. So I think just that description can get it done. But if they see the video,
there's no emotion because she had checked out of the relationship. you will find many people when death has occurred, be it natural or homicide or self-defense, whatever perception you want to go by, there's no emotion from the person because they checked out. Lori had checked out of this relationship at some point. This was July 2019. Sorry about this, my coffee maker, you guys. Sorry about the noise. She had checked out of the relationship. Now, when did she exactly check out? Shortly after meeting Chad, the previous year, 2018, or had she already checked out by the time she met Chad? So that's what you have to ask yourself. Because we could go round and round the timeline, but you don't really know her. You know there's something off with her, something wrong. This commentary here with the camera footage from the police, the giddiness, the laughing, the rocking back and forth during interrogation after Charles died, not seeming very serious or concerned about the death of her husband. This may be evident that she checked out. Maybe she was checked out even before meeting Chad Daybell. I don't know. We would have to get testimony from somebody who could give information to what her relationship was like before she met Chad Daybell. But the point is, you don't know her mindset at that time to say either way. Because as I said, I believe Lori's been riding the ride. You hear this conversation with her son in the jail. I think she was angry, bitter. I've been doing all this. I've been taking care of these kids. Naturally, the boy was autistic. He was very hard to deal with, possibly at some times or maybe often. And she probably felt like she was doing it all by herself. The husband stayed out of town, traveling, going on business. Maybe she felt alone in her child rearing this child that she adopted, that she took on, and maybe he was too much to handle. I believe she also mentioned issues of the daughter being sick at some point. I don't know if this is when Tali was younger. I believe Lori had become overwhelmed with the role she played before the death of Charles and the children. I think she kept it to herself, perhaps, that she was not happy. You see, this is why I said you have to know the person to know how they got to where they ended up, which is right now incarcerated for murders and conspiring with the murder of Tammy Daybell. Perhaps Lori was what I had already said this week. She was not happy. She was not content with her life because, as you hear Vinny say, all these people are dead. Nobody knew at that time. They're missing, the children. And all you're doing is talking about yourself and $1 million policy and who got the money. Man, where are your children? We're not here to talk about $1 million policy and who changed the beneficiary. He had every right to change it. That's his money. He pays the premium. He could put Donald Duck on there if he wanted to. But you heard her say, we got nothing. Son and daughter didn't get anything. She's bitter. She's angry. I didn't conspire to kill this man, and I'm not even on the beneficiary. Well, Lori, you should have checked that out before getting together with Alex and Chad and killing your damn husband and not even be the beneficiary. That's your dumb mistake. But you're wrong to be conspiring to kill a person because you're jacked up with this doomsday dude. Do like everybody else. File for divorce and keep it moving. But you all want to still show that you had it going on in the church. So you're frauds. You can't have it both ways. Can't straddle the fence. You're either on or off. Or as the mob would say, you're either in or out. Ain't no halfway in. But the mob says you're always in. I guess the street would say you're either in or out. But then sometimes they say you're always in. Depends on your perception. But they were straddling the fence. We want to knock these people off, but we still want to look good to the church. We still want to have an upstanding image in the church. And he wanted to hold his, whatever he had going on with the church. Because I don't know his rank in the church. But how are you going to have a high ranking position in the church, Chad, and you've murdered people, buried kids, killed kids? And as Charles said to her, in text messages. How do you still go to the temple knowing what you've done, accusing me of lying and this and that and cheating, blah, 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 and you're going to the temple? And like I said, I do not know if Chad was having an affair or not. You really don't know what's the truth because we see how much Lori has lied during this investigation and the covering up of the deaths of her children. And that's why I asked that ultimate question. Who was Lori before Chad Daybell? Is it that Lori was a chameleon all along and nobody had any idea that the friendly blonde that seemed attentive to her children and husband was bitter and unhappy and unsatisfied? She was never happy. And I think you got a glimpse of that during this welfare check by the police.
That's another huge problem for Lori Daybell. I mean, all of this doesn't add up. I mean, if you've got folks who are regular folks in that jury, I mean, this is just not the way normal people act and react to these. And to be so calm with death means maybe you're so used to death and you've been around it before. Like, oh yeah, husband number 3 is dead, by the way.
I'm an alumni.
Sorry about that intermission. Yeah. Used to death. Very interesting. Very sad. This is a very horrific story. Very horrific. All these lives gone because of these dark entities. Okay, that content has ended by Court TV. If you want to get verification of that said information, excuse me, please tune in to Court TV. Everything's posted to my community board if you need verification. This is a sad, sad situation here. Just listening to all this commentary, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Let's listen to what the cousin has to say. This is Fox 10, Phoenix.
For the most part, but I did get contacted by the special investigator for the defense team, and she asked me a lot of questions about Lori's qualities and how I felt about the death penalty and all those kind of things. And it's been a lot to wrap our minds around. And I definitely had mixed feelings about speaking up because
well, how does she feel about the death penalty?
What is it going to do? But I feel like the main thing that I wanted people to understand is that
hello everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me.
A family culture mixed with a religious system, both of which I feel are very toxic, very manipulative, very broken. And you add on top of that the desire to want to feel special and important, and Chad certainly did that for her.
Exactly, that's what I was saying.
I feel like that was just a perfect storm of horrible circumstances.
Exactly.
And I think that there is a lot of work that the church culture needs to do to repair these kinds of opening the doors for this kind of malignant thinking. And I think I've been really troubled by hearing that the church sent letters to all the members in Idaho telling them not to get involved in proceedings, and then the hand that they've had in keeping cameras out of the courtroom because they don't want to be associated with this. The church is this huge worldwide multi-hundred-billion-dollar corporation, and they have a lot of power and influence. And I really think that they teach a a lot of harmful things, and there's
Wow.
a very harmful culture there. And when you mix it with people who desire power and influence, it just is incredibly toxic. And that's something that I hope that people take away from this. I hope that it comes out more how close mainstream Mormonism really is to what Chad was teaching. And I know people like to focus on the sensationalism of the zombies and all of that, but when you look at the personal revelation and the direction from God and the feeling special and all that kind of stuff, it's just not that far away. And it's really scary to me. And we keep seeing things like this happening. You know, the murder suicides that have happened with this other family in Utah, and there have been several cases recently of Mormon families of murders and suicides, and I look at them and I tie all these things together, and I think, how long is it going to be before somebody speaks up and says that what the church teaches is really harmful, and it's a pathway to this kind of stuff for people who are mentally ill and who haven't resolved issues.
Very good point. That's Lori's cousin. Fox 10 Phoenix is the source if anybody needs verification of this information. I played your information that she gave about Lori's father feeling as if his family was perfect. Other people in society, 95% of them were, I guess, stupid, illiterate, unattractive. He and his family were the top-notch 5%. He's been to jail for tax evasion, didn't pay his taxes. Obviously, he's one of those radical thinking against the government, that the IRS were demons, too, I guess, or negative. So she's learned this by being affiliated with, being a child of his. So perhaps she's had some of his ways, but many people didn't see it in her, that maybe she had some radical thinking herself. And then you have her talking here, this cousin, about the church itself, of the Mormon church, having radical ideas and radical teachings, and then, or let's say extreme teachings, and then you have people who are mentally ill. It doesn't mix. And that's the point. It's what I said earlier, whether you're Christian or non-Christian, you can have a radical mind, whether you believe in God or Jesus or not. Now, I don't know much about the Book of Mormon, but I don't think I'm on board with their teachings because I believe in the Bible. And I know there's only one book, and the scripture has taught us that. There will be no other books. There's no other book. There's no nothing. And a lot of people claim to be Christians, but they believe in different things. So you have the Mormons believing in the Book of Mormon. You've got this group maybe believing in this. I don't believe in any other books. That's just quaint. And one thing I can say, when she says about the church needs to step in about extreme idealisms, well, the church can't tell people how to think. It's your choice how you want to view the scriptures or what you're learning from the church or whatever book you're reading. And what you want to put in it and take away is your choice. And that's the problem. You can't tell people how to think. But as I said earlier, I believe these people were ill and they meshed. 6 degrees of separation. They crossed paths. 10 billion people on top of the dirt. These two found each other, Chad and Lori, and evil began. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you, Sherry. Evil began. Melanie Gibb testified in court that she already had some odd thinking before meeting Chad. That's what I was looking for, to bring proof that it wasn't all Chad's doing and manipulation. And as for the question in the chat, do I believe he manipulated her? Yes, I believe he manipulated her. I believe he was looking for a following. These people in the podcast group had similar beliefs. And all you need is the right person to push the rhetoric. She already believed in past lives, she believes she's lived several times. She also believes she was married to some biblical male. So that led me to believe that something was wrong with her. Now, some people may believe in past lives. You're entitled to your opinion. But this statement bothered me by testimony of Melanie Gibb. She was married to somebody in the Bible. Then she's still in a union with Chad while she was still married to Charles. So she wasn't living by what the scripture taught. The scripture that she's supposed to be trying to uphold, she and Chad. See, they were frauds. They're doing what a lot of people do. They're doing what they want to do. And that's why this cousin is saying she already grew up in a household where the father was the head knocker and a stern personality. He did things his way. It's my way or the highway. And perhaps Lori had the same disposition, but people didn't see it. Perhaps her manipulation in life was more subtle, not overt. You see, you can manipulate people and not be so overt in the manipulation. You can be coy with it, mild-mannered, such as, I'm having car trouble. Oh my goodness. They told me I needed to get a transmission. What am I to do? You put it out there and you wait to see if you get a response. Are you all listening to what I'm saying? You wait to see if someone will kindly offer help in fixing your car. Or buying you another car. Stay woke. Perhaps that was Lori Vallow. She knew how to manipulate and talk to people and get things done without being overt, boisterous, loud, demanding. Maybe she was coy, flipped her hair. You understand where I'm going with this? The dumb blonde. Smart like a fox. Hagen. Hello, Hagen. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. I would really like to know how she truly was before him. Maybe nobody really knows. Yes, and that's the point I'm trying to make in this commentary, that perhaps, as you hear from the cousin, she had a very stern father who, it was his way or the highway. She believes that perhaps his sternness, the radical thinking from him, growing up in his household, the teachings from the church all meshed together to form her idealisms. And maybe people really didn't know that she was not mentally stable because maybe she wasn't as overt in her conversations. Maybe it took her meeting Chad to perfect this, as this cousin is saying, the perfect storm. And I agree with her. Just from what Melanie has said in testimony of her believing in past lives, of Lori believing in past lives before, being married to this biblical person, that shows me that maybe she was off then. To me, she seems off. That's off to me, because I don't believe in that past life stuff, okay? I believe in deja vu. You've been somewhere, you've heard a conversation, but the past lives, I don't believe in that. And so far, there's nobody I've met that's come back to say, yeah, I used to be this person and now I'm this person. I don't believe in none of that. I believe when you die, that's it. That's it. But we've learned this with people that in true crime, they seemed one way until they met this guy over here, or this girl over here, or this friend over here. You've heard it 1,000 times. He was a nice guy. She was a nice girl. Oh my God, she changed when she met him. Oh, her whole attitude changed, or she became more mean, or she became more gullible. You hear it all the time. Because all you need is what I've said, to be manipulated. The person needs an ear. People need an ear. And perhaps she wasn't getting enough attention at home. I want to drive this very hard in this live stream. As you hear this cousin saying, she liked attention. So you meet this guy, he's giving you attention, he's doting on you, he's telling you that you two were married before in a past life, blah, blah, blah. He's now reeling you in. See, Chad's a manipulator himself. He knows he was never married to Lori before in a past life. Come on. And then what's so weird, she believes in that same thing too. So now we got two people believing in the same BS. Now you put in that Mormon rhetoric and extreme Mormonism, and then you start putting in your extra crazy thoughts. He's a fiction writer, as the cousin said, a perfect storm of chaos. Now, we got outsiders coming in, listening to this castings and demons and contracts with the devil, and, oh, let's pray for him. They should have known something was wrong with her when she started talking about her children. That was the sign number one. the day she came to you crazy ass people talking about her kids were demons. How the hell is this 7-year-old? He's a demon. You all knew he was autistic. Come on now. You all knew that. You should have seen the signs. Okay. First you said Charles was a demon, Lori. Now what is this mess now about JJ? Tyler. Come on now. Where's this coming from? Do you need some help? Do you need to go speak to somebody? You need a therapist? You're reaching now. Nobody told her this? Because I would have told her. Hey, okay, you're having problems with your husband. He's a demon. You've given him a name. Well, now you're talking about your kids. They're demons. That's when I would have called her husband. Hey, you need to get your wife some help. There's something wrong with her. She's now talking about everybody's a demon. Her mom's a demon. This sister's a demon. Don't you all get it? Everybody's a demon that ain't on board with her and agreeing with her. Bingo card. What did I just say in the other live? Oh, she's a demon. She don't like me. He's a demon. They don't like me. He's a demon. They don't like me. They disagree. That's a demon. They signed the contract with Satan because they don't agree with what I'm saying. So everybody's a damn demon. So nobody at the schoolhouse was a demon. The neighbors weren't demons. Are you all following? Nobody in the church was a demon. Everybody's a demon that don't agree with them. They laid it out. They telling you all this crazy talk, and you all were sitting there listening to it and not putting it together that something terrible was about to happen. And Charles claimed his own death. That's in the scripture, in Psalms. Speak it, and it shall be so. You speak it on your tongue, you can claim it. That's why they tell you to be careful what you speak on your tongue. Don't claim anything negative. Don't claim it. Hello, everybody. Hello, praise be. Don't claim it. Charles knew something was wrong with her. He still went month to month trying to deal with her. He should have cut her off. When she started talking all that demon talk, calling him Ned, calling him Garrett. All right, Lori, I'm done with you. I've had enough of your shenanigans. I want out. I ain't going to keep bartering with you, writing you love letters and text messages. That's it. All that threatening to talk to Tammy and Chad, and I'm going to out you. See, that was far-reaching. I'm going to tell everybody. Tell them what? That your wife has fallen in love with another man? She's still going to the church pretending to be a Christian? Well, that happens every day. But perhaps Charles still loved her. And I can't get mad at the man because he still loved his wife. And now, was he having an affair or with different women? I don't know. But look at the end result. He claimed his death. He told Adam, oh, I know they're up to something, her and Alex. And he walked right into the lion's den. He should have never gone. And don't you find it strange when the police are there at that house? There's nothing in there. Empty. Why? Empty. Empty. See, that was July of 2019. Lori had already left in the first of the year of 2019. She was telling you she wanted out of that marriage. When you found the emails and her pretending to be writing this person and that person and all these crazy emails and texts, Lori was putting it in ink, how she felt. And you confronted her and she wouldn't answer. You should have left her alone. But you can't go back. He's now dead. All this could have been avoided had Charles cut her off. When he decided to change his life insurance policy, that means he had already set in his mind he didn't need to leave no money to her. Bells had to have been going off in his head then. Why would you change your life insurance policy? And I would have told her, oh, by the way, Cookie, you're not the beneficiary anymore. Since you decided to check out of this marriage, you no longer want to be my wife and a mother to our children. You're not the beneficiary. And I'd have kept it moving. And I'd went, got custody of the little boy and kept it moving. And then she could have raised Tylee, and that'd been the end of that. And then they could have went to court to decide on visitation. But the sick part of the story is if her mind was telling her she's got to still kill these kids, even if, let's say, Charles had JJ, even on a visit, she still could have murdered the boy. Because let her tell it, this is Jesus's and God's will to kill these kids. But we will never know if things could have been different had Charles filed for divorce, took JJ with him permanently, or until they settled a visitation agreement in court. Perhaps these children would be alive today. I don't know. We will never know. I think the marriage had suffered at some point, possibly before she met Chad. And I think as time went on with her listening to Chad's rhetoric and her own warped sense of idealism, they became evenly yoked. And the storm was perfected. So whatever was going on in her marriage, good or bad, mediocre, was null and void. And once she realized, hey, I'm falling for this guy, let's just say it's the truth that he was having an affair, Charles. Well, he don't want me anyway. He's sleeping around, allegedly. I'm done. So perhaps in her head, the demons were talking to her, telling her, it's time to start getting rid of everybody. To start knocking everybody off. See, we don't even know when she decided to start knocking the children off. Because he dies in July and the children die in the fall. September, at least. And she's already telling people that he was dead. And even in the earlier part of 2019, we have Melanie testifying that she was wanting him and the boy to be in an accident when they were in Texas. So that's before July. So see, she was already plotting the death of these people in her head. Oh, he and JJ are going to be in an accident. Why would you be saying that? So see, you really don't know who Lori was. Who's to say she didn't have these warped thoughts of death before she met Chad Daybell? I think she was an unhappy person. Let me say present tense. Lori is an unhappy person. She is not easily satisfied or content. That is the purpose of the multiple marriages, relationships, the house hopping, the city hopping. You hear the son Kobe testify in court. They moved around a lot when he was a boy child. 5 husbands. It's all in ink, not made up, not rhetoric. 5 husbands. 3 kids. Broken relationships, broken marriages, dead husbands, dead children, now incarcerated. I believe she was an unhappy person. She's been an unhappy person for a long time. She's walked around painting her face with makeup and smiling and giggling, trying to cover up a very dissatisfied disposition. And she met Chad Daybell, and he gave her what she thought she needed, which was, as his cousin says, attention. And she fell for it. She was looking for something, and so was Chad. Chad was possibly looking for a way out of his marriage and wanting a following of this doomsday rhetoric with this podcast group. And Lori was ripe for the taking. She was gullible, naive, giddy. Then you had these other people, Melanie Gibb and the other Melanie and these other people, and they followed suit. I'm not really sure if it was all about money. I mean, she made commentary about that after finding out she wasn't the beneficiary. She said, well, I will be getting those checks for the children, which was a very crass thing to say, because all you had to do is go get a job. And as I've mentioned before in my live stream, what did she do for a living? Because I don't see how you can work and keep down a job if you're moving around a lot. And that's been mentioned in commentary too. She's moved around a lot just in 2019. She moved around a lot. So if she was a hairdresser, I don't think she perfected it long. And as you heard Melanie testify, she seemed distracted near the end. The time she visited her with JJ, she saw that she seemed attentive to him at first when she met her, but somewhere down the line, she seemed overwhelmed or distracted. And that's because her mind was on all that doomsday Satan contract rhetoric with Chad. She couldn't focus on being a mother. She couldn't focus on being a wife to Charles. She couldn't focus on being a mother to the children. She was too busy trying to follow this man around. He calling her a goddess. They've been married before in a past life. All this BS. And look at them now. Both of them are incarcerated and facing murder charges and fraud. The perfect storm. Well said by the cousin. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Let's play a little more commentary. I'm 1 hour and 20 minutes into this live stream. Thank you for your time. Please check out my content on my community page and my past videos. I was at the Rossini Festival yesterday here in Knoxville, Tennessee. And please check out the 2 short videos that are on my in my library. Okay. And listen at these commentaries pertaining to Lori Vallow, Daybell by Melanie. You'll get more of an idea of how Lori began to unravel, and you'll see the signs that she had some odd thought processes before meeting Chad, and that's what I really wanted to know. Let's hear what the babysitter has to say.
Prior to coming in today, have you observed any trial testimony in this case in any way?
No.
Okay, thanks for that response. In your examination here, we are making a court record, so please make verbal responses to any questions, and please try to avoid speaking at the same time as anyone questioning you, so the record stays clear. With that in mind, then, Mr. Wood, inquire on direct.
Yes, my name is Sydney Shank, Schenk. I am 26 years old. I currently live in Arizona.
I just realized the mic wasn't on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wood.
Do I need to repeat those questions, or do you have me on the record?
Should we get it on FDR? I think there's enough to pick it up on the FTR, Mr. Wood, and the reporter got it apparently.
All right. Was there ever a time that you lived in Rexburg, Idaho?
Yes,
When was that?
it was back in 2019.
And what were you doing in Rexburg, Idaho?
I was attending BYU, Idaho.
Were you working at the time?
I was not.
Were you, excuse me, were you looking for work?
Yes, I was.
How were you going about doing that?
I had always nannied and babysat in the past. So I went on a website called care.com where you can place a job listing for nanny, or cleaning services, or senior care, nursing stuff, and I had placed a listing to be a nanny.
Through that listing,
So just, I want to make sure we get this. If you can kind of talk right in that mic, they're not that sensitive, so we'll make sure you get all your testimony. Thank you.
Thank you.
through your listing on care.com, did you ever meet a Lori Vallow?
I did. She had replied to my listing looking for help with her son, David.
Okay. So you met her through the listing. How did you communicate?
We had messaged through the app and then later continued talking through text messaging because it was easier.
Okay. So you exchanged numbers.
Yes,
Did you keep those messages?
I didn't.
After messaging with Miss Vallow, did you ever meet her?
I did. We had discussed a time for me to come kind of do an interview and see if I was a good fit for them. She had mentioned that JJ had some special needs, that he had autism, and so he required just extra help and wanted to make sure that I was a good fit.
Okay. When did you meet her?
I met with her on Wednesday, September 18th, 2019.
Where did you meet her?
I met with her at her town hall in Rexburg.
How did that interview go?
It went well. I arrived at her home and she greeted me warmly, gave me a hug, and introduced me to JJ and sort of told me about their life and that they had recently moved to Rexburg from Arizona. And that, yeah, JJ had the tendencies that he could get emotional easily, distracted, frustrated, and has trouble communicating with others, and that if you gave him a direct command and looked him in the eyes, that he would listen better.
Okay. While you were there, did she say anything about her husband, Charles Vallow?
She did. She had mentioned that he had just recently died of a heart attack, and that JJ was kind of having a hard time understanding what happened.
So you testified that she told you about JJ and he had some special needs. While you were there, did you see a teenage girl?
I did not.
Did she tell you anything about a daughter?
She did. She said she had a daughter that also lived in Rexburg and was attending college, and that sometimes she would come to visit them for dinner or to do laundry, but that her daughter didn't like to babysit without being paid, and that's why she needed me to come and help.
Before Jobber, it was late nights in the office, sending quotes, sending emails, and immediately, as soon as we started using Jobber, all of that went away.
Sorry about that, everybody. Brief commercial. So here we have the babysitter testifying how she came to meet Lori through an app for care services for the elderly and children. She would go on to explain what happened in the brief interaction with Mrs. Vallow and JJ. Thank you for joining me.
Watch JJ.
Yes, she did.
Hello, everybody in the chat.
To come the next day.
Really quickly, I'm going to take you back for just 1 second. When you spoke with her about her daughter, did she say which school her daughter was attending?
She did not.
Okay. Did she say college?
From what I remember, yes.
So she hired you to watch JJ.
Yes.
Did you ever have
You see the lies that Lori spun so much during her dealings with family and friends up until the deaths of all these people. She just lied. So this is why I asked the question, was she a liar before meeting Chad Daybell? I'd like somebody to give some information to her disposition before meeting Chad, because we don't hear a lot of bad things about her just up until she met Chad and her changing of idealisms and radical thinking of the church and so on and so forth. But I'd like to know, did she have any affairs during her marriages? Was she ever known to be a liar before meeting Chad Daybell? Because you just don't wake up one day and start lying. Now, do we keep some things to ourselves and we don't want people to know about certain things, personal things, of course. So it still will be considered lying if you don't tell the truth about something. If somebody asks you something about your finances or where you live, and maybe you just don't want people to know. But there's a difference when you're spinning webs day for day about where you been, what you did. You know, you're laying out a story. That's where I'm taking this. So that's what I'd like to know about Lori. Was she the type to spin webs before meeting Chad Daybell? And perhaps nobody ever knew that they were webs. They just thought they were the truth because they knew her, they liked her, she seemed like a nice lady. Because I'm wondering if there's any truth to Charles having affairs, and if she was the type to spin little white lies beforehand. Okay, who said what? Okay, so that's why I was asking about that too, the allegations against that husband with the child abuse, sexual molestation. I was wondering if there's any truth to that, any legal recourse from all of those allegations. Those are the things I'm asking because I'm trying to set up a timeline of who she was before meeting Chad, because that's going to show and help us understand how she came to be in this predicament of all these dead people. Because as I said before, you're talking about a woman in her mid 40s, 50. You just don't wake up and start lying just because you like somebody or you're interested in somebody. And as Vinny said, Vinny Politan said in Court TV, if you, I believe Vinny said this, one of the commentators said it, if you believe that God or Jesus has been speaking to you and telling you to kill these people, because you all are the chosen ones and going to be a part of the 144,000, and these children or whomever are not needed anymore, these wives aren't needed, husbands aren't needed, then you wouldn't have any problem with telling police that. Yeah, I killed them. I sure did. I'm the chosen one. God spoke to me. God told me I'm the chosen one. I don't need a husband. I don't need these children. They're in the way. Do y'all see where I'm going with this? You believe adamantly that God spoke to you directly and appointed you a certain position and told you you don't need your spouses, you don't need your children, then you would have no problem repeating that to law enforcement and admitting you killed these people. And that's what Kobe was trying to tell her in that phone conversation at the jail. Tell me Jesus told you to kill my siblings. She could not do it. And I'm wondering if she will take the stand. Most people know it is not good for a person to take the stand in a criminal trial. And with all this information of he said, she said, recordings, footage from police, friends testifying, her own text mails and emails, she would not make it. Lori Vallow would not fare well on the witness stand because she'd have to explain all these random ass conversations. She couldn't back it up. She would be laughing and snickering. She would doom herself worse than what's already been said about her during court testimony.
A chance to watch JJ.
I did. The following day on the night, I went to their town hall after I had finished my school that day and watched him for a few hours while she had to go to the airport to pick up a friend.
Okay. Did she give you any special instructions for JJ that day?
Yeah, she did. She talked about kind of what to feed him, what things he likes to do for fun, that I could take him to go play at Gravity Factory, which is at the trampoline park, and that if she got home later, I could give him his medication that helps him fall asleep faster.
What do you remember about watching JJ that day?
I remember it went pretty well. I just played outside with the neighbors and kids for a while. I brought him in to feed him dinner, and then we went back out to play at their house. So I went back to the townhome and waited and kind of cleaned, and then I went to go pick him up, and JJ and his friend had gotten in some sort of dispute over not sharing toys, and so I had him come home.
when he came home, he was very upset and sad that his friend didn't want to play with him anymore. He got pretty angry and went through the ottoman, threw like a chair, and I tried to calm him down best I could, but eventually he ran upstairs and just kind of wanted to be alone and hide. So I let him stay upstairs for a while and hoping that he would calm down, but he didn't.
Did you have any other contact with Lori Vallow that night?
I did. So when she came home, he was still pretty upset, and I kind of explained to her what had happened with the friend, and she calmed him down. Her brother was there, and her friend was there now, and she had paid me in cash, and we didn't really talk much about another time to babysit just because of the situation that happened with JJ. So she paid me and I left.
Did you believe that you would be watching JJ again?
Yes, it was sort of an unspoken knowledge that I was gonna work full time, that he would need nearly daily assistance and babysitting. So.
Did you have any further communications with Lori?
I did. So a few days had passed after that, and I had texted her wondering when I could come work again. And she responded that JJ had gone to his grandparents for a month, and that she was in Hawaii for a month, and that after that month had passed, I could message her again and talk about a time to come back and babysit.
So she said JJ was with his grandparents, and he would be for a month.
Yes.
Did you ever try to contact Lori Vallow again?
I did. So that month had passed, and I reached out again, and she never communicated back to me again after that.
Did you ever see JJ Vallow after September 19th?
No, I did not.
Your Honor, at this time the state has no further questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wood. Cross-examination.
Games and Things is celebrating 40 years of fun in East Tennessee.
Sorry about that. Ooh, mercy. Trying to see about keeping the little boy again. Lori knew she had no intention to deal with this young lady thereafter this visit of keeping him. She was setting up the demise of JJ, sadly. This is just horrific information, but it's pertinent to show the mindset of Lori Vallow. And once again, it is the burden of the state to prove she conspired in the deaths of JJ, Tylee, Tammy, and also Charles. I think they've done a good job thus far.
So just briefly to follow up on September 18th when you met Lori at her home, was JJ also there?
Yes, he was.
And so you were able to observe
I hear you all down in the chat.
His personality.
Yes.
And then when she was talking to you about him, and she was planning on having you work for her long term. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And was there a schedule like every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, a plan like that?
Not that I remember.
Okay. So it was just that you'd be called frequently as the need arose.
Yes.
See, the defense has done his job in questioning people that have testified against Lori, basically trying to set up who she, her disposition during all this mess. And here, once again, the truth is revealed. She did not set up a plan with this young lady on said days to come and take care of the little boy. And this is pivotal to the case, because if I'm going on a website for whatever, I need you to take care of my child, clean my house, take care of my mother, my father. I'm going to lay out the times I need you, the time, the days, and ask you of your availability. So you hear the defense is asking her, what's the time, the timeline? And she says none was set up. So this goes to show you she did not intend to keep the girl long term as a caregiver for the little boy. She just needed that girl there to set up the demise of JJ. In and out. Keep the little boy while I tie up loose ends to get this boy gone. And you heard testimony from Mr. David. 1 minute he sees the little boy. Next day he's gone. He asks, where is he? Lori says, oh, he's with my brother Alex. He was acting out. I had him to come get him. Chad's there. And Chad has scratches on his neck. Now you do the math. Where did the scratches come from, Chad? Chad, I'd like to know how you're feeling. I'd like to do a live stream just on that subject alone. What is Chad Daybell thinking right now with the testimony of all of these people? He has to be peeing in his pants. Oh my goodness, they are telling everything. But you and Lori told everything. Because you all were stupid enough to be chit-chattering through texts and emails involving old Alex. Run around telling people of your doomsday theories, walking around publicly affectionate and we're both married to other people, trying to rent a house in Hawaii, saying you don't have no pets, no children, and at this time the children were missing and you all were lying about where the damn children were. You told on yourselves. And this goes to show conspiring. And there's no way at this point, with all these people testifying, that Lori did not know where her children were, because she told on herself in the jailhouse interview with Colby, you don't know what happened. You weren't there. FBI weren't there. Police weren't there. Mom wasn't there. Pookie wasn't there. Ray Ray wasn't there. Oh, but you were there, Lori. Bingo card. But you were there. You just told on yourself. You weren't there. So what are you alluding to? The fact that you weren't there, but others were? But I've got knowledge of what happened to my kids. Either way, Cookie, you in the thick of it. And ain't nobody went and killed them kids without your damn permission. This was your way of getting out of that marriage and still hold court to the church. Your image to the church was more important, you and Chad. Checkmate.
And because you were a student, your schedule was flexible.
Yes.
And so you agreed to be able to provide assistance if the need arose.
Yes, that's correct.
Was it daytime, evening that you had time available?
It just depended on when my classes were. I don't remember the specific time.
Okay. And so this, the time that you spent with Lori and JJ on September 18th, you were given a lot of information about JJ so you could take care of him long term for like the next several months or a year, or talk about that.
There wasn't specific talk about long term.
Defense attorney, the girl just told you she never gave a timeline or dates to come back to the house to take care of JJ. Stop the BS now. See, this is what they do on questionnaires for the police, the military, and jobs questionnaires. They ask you a question at least 3 times in the questionnaire and reword it. Are you all following what the Queen assigned to you? Oh, did she set up a timeline when she went to come back to take care of her? No, she did not. I don't recollect. And so he asked her the question 2 times. She still gives him the same damn answer. See, it couldn't have been Queen up there, because I would have told him, sir, you just asked me that question. I told you, Lori Vallow didn't set up a time for me to come back to keep the little boy. Y'all know how the Queen is. See, he's trying to get something from nothing. Because the jury already knows, if they are sane and lucid, that this was a ruse to get somebody in so she could tie up everything to get that little boy gone. And she had to have somebody watch him while she did her errand running, if you get my drift. Go over here, go over there, meet Chad, meet this person, meet Alex, construct this, concoct this, and then that's it. I don't need you anymore. Because the little boy is dead. And you have David who testified. Saw him today, didn't see him tomorrow. And Lori has an answer. Oh, he's gone. He's gone with my brother. He was too hard to handle. I had my brother come get him, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, they handled him all right. Now imagine how he died. What did you all do? Suffocate the 7-year-old boy, put a pillow over his face? Wow. Can't make this stuff up.
I hear, but I was, expecting at least the next several months.
So you weren't planning on leaving town, you weren't graduating?
Probably did, Hagen.
Town right there that semester.
No, not for a couple years.
Okay. So with your talking with Lori, she was giving you information so that you could plan on how to take care of JJ long term.
Yes.
And with your knowledge of JJ's special needs, you agreed to that.
Yes, I did.
There was.
Do you see how slick this defense attorney is? He keeps going on and on in his questions using the word long term. Well, there is no long term itinerary, sir, because the little boy is dead. You could question this girl 1,000 different ways. She keeps giving you the same answer. You keep using the same word, long term, but there was no plan for her to take care of JJ long term because he died shortly after she came to take care of him on that day. And when I mean shortly, I mean just that, shortly. She was just there for her to tie up the loose ends, or basically to get the ball rolling. She had no plan to ever use this girl long term for months, as you keep mentioning in this cross-examination of this witness, sir. And she keeps giving you the same answer. There was no definite plan made to take care of JJ long term. No days were set up, no times. And you're going to hear her further give you details of the alleged itinerary to take care of JJ.
Lori didn't give you any indication, did she, that, hey, I'm just hiring you for this week and then never again?
No, she didn't.
All right, thank you.
Any redirect, Mr. Wood?
No, Your Honor, and this witness may be released from her subpoena.
All right, any objection to the witness being released?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's that. She told them there's no timeline. Nothing was set up. And she was never called back. So I thought this was the video where she tells everything. Obviously, this isn't the one that's more winded of her giving her testimony, but I'll go ahead and finish it for her. She basically lets the court know that she reached out to her, Lori Vallow, a month later because she had called and asked about keeping him, and Lori had told her that the little boy was gone out of town, I believe to relative's house, the grandmother or somebody. And so she said, check back in a month. So Lori knew then she was not going to need the girl when she first hired her from the app, from the care services app. But nonetheless, she couldn't tell her that. So she spins the story when the girl calls her back after her visit with trying to, keep the little boy on that day that she came to keep him. He was kind of hard to handle. He was upset and, acting out. When Lori got back, she told her, what happened during her visit, the day she took care of him. And so Lori never called her back. And the girl called back on her own. And this is when Lori tells her that the little boy is out of town. So she said, so check back in a month. I may need you, whatever. So the girl calls back in a month and there was no response. And she never heard from Lori Vallow Daybell again. And that's the gist of that testimony. You can't make this stuff up. You just can't make it up. I'm telling you, this is just crazy. Just crazy. What was the relationship between Alex and Lori? Many people have speculated. Of what the relationship was. I'd hate to go down that rabbit hole. But was there more to the relationship? Because it'd be a shame to find out there was something sexual going on between these two as adults. I don't want to go there. Maybe that'll be another lie. I think all these people had a role to play in this I don't know what to call it. Circle. Zulema, pestiness. You had knowledge that these people were ill. And you were the main one testifying in court of the relationship between Lori and Alex was odd and sexual. But yet you still dealt with him and you married him. And then he died shortly after you married him. Conveniently. The fall guy. The fact that you heard Lori upset on the phone with him. Or talking to somebody. He can't do anything right. One of them heard something. I'm getting confused. It's all a big mess to me. That all these people had knowledge that Lori was off. That's where I'm going with this. All these people were off in their thought process. And perhaps this Mormon church, I don't want to be critical of the Mormon church without having full knowledge of what the church is about, but you heard the cousin saying they have extreme beliefs. So perhaps the church needs a reality check as well. And maybe they're not teaching the whole truth. And then as the cousin said, you factor in people who are mentally ill and they're coming in listening to extremism, extreme religion. It's a bad mix. Well, Zulema probably is like a lot of people that we find in these true crime stories. She's probably got a lot to hide herself because her testimony was and every few words was and then she's talking like she's 5 years old and all light and acting like she couldn't speak up in the microphone. She's full of crap too, because as you hear with the Vinnie Politan segment with Core TV, Lori and Chad talked a lot and told these people a lot, okay, of their idealisms and their thought process and what they thought and believed. So they gave themselves away, and they were openly affectionate with one another while they were still married to other people. And they talked all about castings and evil and contracts with Satan. And these people heard this rhetoric about these people, these children, and Charles, and also Tammy. And you all still dealt with them. And that's why I have a problem with all of you. It's that you can't be sitting up here saying you're a Christian, and then you're sitting here listening to people talk negative about their family members day for day, when you haven't seen evidence that these people are evil or signed a contract with Satan. And if you met them and you didn't get that perception, then you should have said something to Lori and Chad. Well, I don't get that perception from your son, your daughter. I don't get that from them. And I think you need to stop talking like that. All right, baby. Because there comes a point when you aid, when you listen. And this is something people don't like to admit in dealing with people. You may not believe what they're saying. You may not even comment on what they're saying. But so long as you are an open ear, you're participating. And some of you may not agree, but like I said, you keep listening and listening. The person thinks that possibly you're on board, because if you're not saying anything like, hey, man, I don't believe that, and I disagree with that, they think you're on board with what they're talking about. This is common sense. Why would I not think you are on board? You're not refuting what I'm saying. Okay. Hagen says it seems like Lori got everyone to do all the dirty work for her. Lori's hands would be clean. Could that be Lori's defense? Well, that's what Hagen, that's what the defense is basically saying. Do not think about Alex or Chad. They have nothing to do with this trial. This trial is pertaining to Lori. You need to prove or believe she killed these people, conspired, compelled, or asked these entities to kill her children beyond a reasonable doubt. And the burden is on the state. The state is the one that has to prove Lori asked these people to kill her kids and her husband. That's not the defense's job. And that's the defense's mantra. Show us the receipt that she asked these people to kill her kids and husband. So that's what the jury has to decide. Did she ask these people to kill her family? But I think her own testimony and emails and text messages and conversations with Melanie and Zulema, if you are to believe the things that they have said in court, they've told on her. If you believe them. All this dark spirit, light spirit, past lives, they've been appointed, a hierarchy in the church and to do the mission of the 144,000 that are chosen ones, her asking Melanie to leave her family. So one could say this was an intricate plan and plot from the get-go. That's what, the first of the year, 2019, you're asking your friend to leave her family. And then later your whole family ends up murdered. So perhaps they were trying to set up a following in Rexburg, Idaho. All these people come, meet up, live together. I don't know. But that's what it appears. Because as I told people, you've got to decide what is the motive for the deaths of these people. Religion, the calling, the gathering, money, obsession. I think it's a combination of all of it. I think it's a combination of mental illness. I think it's a combination of distorted views of the Mormon church and whack ideologies, unhappy people in their relationships and in their own lives. And when you put all those together, as the cousin has said in her interviews, it is the perfect storm. That is the perfect word for Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell's union. It was the perfect storm because she obviously had some odd thoughts before meeting him. Melanie has testified to that in court. And that's what matters the most, is setting up the timeline of the mindset. Because you have to decide, was she already crazy before she met him? Or she was gullible and met him and followed suit from things he said and he put some of the ideas in her head. Melanie testified that a lot of the things that Lori was spewing did indeed come from Chad. So as I said, it's a combination. She already had the belief in past lives and reincarnations. He believed in that. Some of the other people in the groups believed in it. Melanie didn't believe in it. Then you factor in what they believed in from the Mormon church, plus the stuff that Chad was spewing. So you're now talking about combinations of different entities and different thought processes all meshing into one. Chad spewing this and this about zombies. Then he's spewing this and this about the Mormon church. Then she comes in with the past lives and stuff. So see, they're just putting a whole bunch of stuff in a pot. This ain't nothing but a bad bowl of gumbo. Sprinkle on a little hot sauce, and we've got a pot boiling over. That's what you have here. It's a combination. It's a combination of greed, combination of mental illness, whack thought process / religion. That's all it took. Because at some point you got to say it's got to be more than just about money. Because if she really believed she was getting that $1 million from the beneficiary, I think she would have knocked them off sooner than July of 2019, considering she met Chad in the fall of 18. And obviously she was wrapped up into him because she took off running around different places January through March, moving over here and moving over there. She was already detached from her marriage. So this is why I asked, is it possible she was having problems in her marriage before she met Chad? That's what I'd like to know. Evidence of affairs on both parts. Marital problems before Chad. Melanie said she didn't really have no extreme ideas and ways before meeting Chad, but she did believe in past lives. She did believe in that. So that's why I said I think it's a combination of everything. Greed, sex, obsession, radical religion, radical ideas from Chad, her own idealism of past lives. I think they all meshed in together. And when you're dealing with people who are not mentally stable, you're dealing with people who have a warped sense of idealisms and religion, people who are attention seekers, people who are wanting to be in control and orchestrate. It is the perfect storm for chaos. And I think all these people were looking for something. I think the people in the podcast group were looking for something. I think these other friends, Zalima, Melanie, the other Melanie, the Chris, who all these people, I think they all were looking for something. And they found it in Chad, whether they believed in half of the stuff he said or 2% of what he said or 50%. They hung around. That's my point. You hung around even after the fact when you started hearing about all these dark spirits and contracts with Satan. And you should have known that something wasn't right. Because if you didn't have any evidence of Charles being a bad person, being evil, why are you still hanging around these people and listening at this garbage? See, that's where I have the problem. It's called riding the ride. Because she went from Charles to JJ to Tyler, and you should have seen the signs, all of you. Hey, this ain't right. Come on now, these are kids. Why are you saying these things about your children? Hello, Stardust. Hello, everybody in the chat. Because I would question it. You know, I have a discerning spirit. I believe that's the gift God gave to me. And I know when something ain't right. And if you come to me once talking about your husband is dark, and you've given him a name, I'm going to question that. Because first thing I'm going to ask you is, well, how do you know that's his name? Such and such Snyder. It went from Ned to Garrett. Well, which is he? First it's Ned, then it's Garrett, then it's Garrett, then it's Ned. And then months later, here you come, you start talking about your son or your daughter. Well, she's got a dark spirit too. Okay. So that's what I'm going to check you. I'm going to say, well, first you said your husband was dark. Now your daughter signed a contract with Satan. How do you know this? Who told you this? Oh, Jesus told me. Did he? Did Jesus also tell you you shouldn't be sleeping with that married man and you're married? How about that? Let's talk about that instead of talking about everybody signing a contract with Satan. See, you got to call a spade a spade. And if you are deep in the church and Christianity, as all these people claim they were, then they should have checked Lori's ass. Yeah, I'm coming correct today. You should have checked her. Hey, Lori, let's keep the BS, put it to the side. You are married and you're sleeping around with a married man. It's obvious you two like each other. You're fawning over each other. It's not right. And I can't be a party to you messing around with a married man, nor can I hang around him. And I cannot listen to you all talk about the church and going to the temple and this and that. So let's scratch all this talk about zombies and apocalypse and 144,000 and Satan and contracts. You need to check yourself and you need to get a divorce. How about that? See, you got to call a spade a spade. Because you can't, if you're going to walk the walk, then hey, you talk it, you better walk it. And that's what we all need to do. We can't send out advice to other people. We don't take ourselves. And I will attest to that for myself. There comes a point when you got to own your part. The craziness that you're doing, the foolishness that you're doing, dealing with crazy people. And I will attest to it. You're just putting yourself in a bad situation. And I'm speaking from personal experience. That's my testimony today. You see the signs that the person ain't right. You see the signs that somebody is warped. You see they got a bad attitude, a bad disposition. They're negative. They don't never have anything kind to say. You need to say to yourself, I don't walk in that light. I don't live like that. And I don't want to be around people who act like that. So I don't need to be talking to people who act like this and talk like this. So all of you all are guilty. Melanie, Zulima, Chris, who all of you other entities in the podcast group, all of you are guilty if you sat here and hung around these people and they were sitting here talking this garbage about zombies and dark and light and Satan contracts. You were stupid to be hanging around her because I'd have cut Lori ass off. I'd have checked her. We'll put Christianity to the side. Hey, you ain't got to cuss, but you can just tell her, hey, I ain't in agreement with this stuff you're talking about. And we all need to do this. Whether you are religious or not, Christian or not, when you see something that's not right with the people that you are hanging with, call them out. Or just walk away. You don't like confrontation, or you think that whatever you have to say may lead to a confrontation or ugly words, then hey, then you walk away, don't say nothing. If that means don't answer the phone, no text message, no responding, you do what's best for you. Because I can't tell a person they should, go on the lines then and try to tell a person how they feel. Because sometimes you can confront a person via personal phone and it can lead to very ugly words. So if you think it would get ugly, then bow out. And that's what should have happened here. Nobody bowed out. And now you all are just sitting ducks in the courtroom testifying and all these damn people are gone and dead. When possibly they'd be alive had somebody stepped up and told the truth. Hey, Lori, Chad, y'all ain't living right. You can't talk to us about Jesus and God, and you two are fornicating publicly. You ain't just fornicating behind closed doors. You're fornicating in front of us. So how are you going to talk to me about Jesus, what Jesus said, and you sleeping with a married man, you sleeping with a married woman? See, this is why I'm telling you, these people are just as crazy as they are. So maybe somebody needs to strap these people down in some wetsuits. How the hell are you going to talk to me about Jesus and you sitting up here fornicating? Right, a bunch of psychos. Now everybody's sitting in court testifying before 12 members of the jury of what he said and she said. They all were glutton for punishment. Because I think in the end, a lot of these people who are part of these Christian group, prayer groups, podcast groups, however you want to clarify them, they all were looking for something. And that is how Chad and Lori got tangled up with one another. Each of them were possibly unhappy in their lives. They had a warped sense of idealism with religion and other subject matters, moral issues, and one thing begat another. It was the perfect storm. And it happens to people every day. That is the reason why we have true crime. It's because people are mentally ill, disturbed, psycho, dissociative personality, PTSD, OCD, bipolar, schizophrenic, psychopaths, sociopaths, and then they meet other people who are gullible, lonely, miserable, evil, tainted. And one thing begets another. And the art of manipulation is having an ear. You see, manipulation can't breed without a victim. And you may be a victim and you weren't willing, so you thought. But there comes a time when you know that what you're listening to is not proper. And so it is up to you to decide to call a spade, to continue dealing with the person or people, and or to bow out. I hate it when people hide behind religion. It makes everyone else look bad because God is love and wants us to love. In this case, sure ain't love. No, it isn't about love. And that's what's so sad about this Mormon issue. You hear the cousin talking about that they teach extreme religion is Mormon. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't believe in the Mormon faith. I don't know much about it, but I don't believe in the Book of Mormon because I only believe in one book, and that's the Bible. So it can't be two books. So I really don't have to, dig deep into the Mormon faith because they have their own book. And so long as they have their own book, I don't have to go past go. I only believe in the Bible, and that's it for me. So it really won't matter what they're teaching. It can't be what God was talking about and what Jesus was talking about. And that's the problem. Is that everyone has their own idealism of Christianity. Somebody's worrying about Mary. Somebody's worrying about the Book of Mormon. Somebody's worrying about Allah, but everybody says they worship the same God. But I don't think that we are all worshiping the same God. Because you believe your God told you this, and then your God told you this, and then you said your God didn't have a son, Jesus. So then how can we believe in the same God if your God didn't have a son, Jesus? That would be a problem if I believe that God had a son, Jesus. So then we can't be worshiping the same God. Then you have those religions that believe in several gods. So then that would be a problem because there's only one God. And he says that in the scripture. I am the only one, the only way. And the only way you can get to me is through my son, Jesus Christ. So we are not worshiping the same God. And that's where we fall out with each other. But one thing I don't do is argue politics or religion. Those are two subjects I don't cross because I know people get heated in what they believe. Then you have those who don't believe in anything. And to me, that's the most dangerous person. The one that has no belief system. They don't celebrate holidays. They don't celebrate nothing. And everything is orchestrated by man. That's what people need to understand about everything from Easter to Christmas to Veterans Day. All that was orchestrated by man. You want to follow it, believe in it. I mean, that's the title. That's your opinion. But in the end, man has orchestrated a lot that goes on in the world today. And that's the problem, is that he takes what he wants from the scripture and implements it to the street. And all he wants is a willing participant. And that's what happened here. Lori was looking for something. Chad was looking for something. And all these other sidekicks were looking for something. Because if they weren't looking for anything, they would have never got wrapped up with these groups. And when they saw the signs that their friend was unraveling, Lori Vallow, they should have stepped in and told her. Now, in the end, it was up to Lori to decide how to conduct herself, but they should have spoken up to her and told her, hey, there's something wrong with you. You're talking different. You're acting different. You're talking bad about your own children. It's one thing you're talking bad about your husband, but now you're putting the blame on your kids. What's wrong with you? What the hell's going on with you? You need to see a therapist. You need to see a psychiatrist. That's what somebody should have said to Lori Vallow. See, I already said in my live stream the other day that I believe that Lori has always been looking for something. Kobe told that in court about the moving around. You don't move around that much with children because children need stability. If you move around a lot, that's on you. But why would a grown woman with a child keep moving around? Because I believe she was searching for something then. And it was possibly relationships. Okay? You're out here as a young person looking for something, looking for whatever. Because I don't know what Lori was looking for. Stability, security, sugar daddy, a man, companion, I don't know. But her son told it. We moved around a lot when I was a kid. Well, that's what she was doing right before the deaths of these people. Don't you see the pattern? She's been looking for something her entire life. I'll put my money on it. And she thinks she finally found it in Chad Daybell. He laid it on thick and she fell for it. Well, she could have wanted a sucker. That's what I'm trying to say. We have to decide who Lori is. Because I believe Chad was already looking for a following. The other question is, who is Lori? And who was she actually? Who is she actually? Was this person that people thought she was a facade? She just was riding the ride, pretending to be this nice lady, Christian lady, but deep down inside, she was not a happy person, a bitter person, overwhelmed person, wasn't happy with her life, wanted more. And as I said, she met Chad and thought she had met her soulmate, but she was hoodwinked and bamboozled because she's now in jail facing multiple murder charges and fraud. And so will he. I think she was unhappy. She had a tainted mindset, possibly mentally ill, but she knew better. Possibly greed. And she met this man. He put more ideals in her head, and the rest is history. And they rode the ride together. And they gathered other gullible people who should have known better, because they don't get an easy pass either. They should have known better. The signs were always there. Yes, they were following the devil. And they should have seen that something was wrong with Lori and Chad when they started talking bad about the wives and the husbands and the children. Everybody should have checked out of those friendships. Hey, when you come back to life, come back to earth, holler at me. Until then, I don't think we have anything else to talk about. See, a lot of people don't like hurting people's feelings. And this is the reason why people ride the ride with people, because they don't want to hurt their feelings. They don't want to fall out with them. They don't want to altercation. But we can agree to disagree without having to pass licks and use dirty names. Hey, I don't agree with what you did. I don't agree with what you said. I'm the type of person, I avoid conflict with people. I don't want to argue with you about stuff, especially with women. I don't like arguing with women. That's just something I don't do. Now, if it's a man and I like him, I'm interested, then yeah, I'll have words with him because I'm trying to get my point across because I have feelings for him. But when it comes to dealing with women, I just don't believe in arguing with a woman because I feel like I don't like her in that way as far as a relationship for me to be going back and forth with her on petty stuff. So I don't argue with women about nothing. Friendships, nothing. I'll say what I have to say and I'm done. I'm not going to argue with you. But I feel like really you shouldn't even have to be going words back and forth with a man. But we would do that if we have feelings for people. We'll go back and forth because we're trying to get them to understand our side and our version. But we also have to know that if they're giving us signs and commentary that they don't really care about us, they're not trying to agree with us, then we need to bow out. And that's what these people should have done with Lori and Chad. I think they should have bowed out. Because once you start talking about Satan and children, then you're in a whole different, we're talking about a whole different category. And when it becomes a pattern that everybody's evil, the husband, the children, the mother, the father, then it's time for you to say, okay, my friend's having some type of meltdown and you need to go to her and talk to her personally. And you put religion and zombies and all that to the side and say, I don't want to talk about the 144,000. I don't want to talk about zombies. I don't want to talk about doomsday. I don't want to talk about the second coming. I don't want to talk about Jesus, Noah, Job, Mary. I want to talk about you and what the hell you've been talking about and where your mindset is. That's what a real friend should have done with Lori Vallow, Daybell, and Chad as well. I don't want to hear another thing about a damn zombie. What the hell is your problem? What's going on with you and your wife? Why are you talking negative about your wife? Why are you talking about she's going to die at this time? Why are you saying these things about your son and husband gonna be dead? They're not coming back from the trip alive. That's what real friends do. They address the issue. Now you all are sitting up in court testifying to all the stupid stuff these people were putting out here into the universe, for all these gullible ass people such as yourselves were sitting there listening to for a fucking year. That's what kills me. You all were listening to this garbage for a year, and now you're sitting up here testifying. These people are dead. They're not coming back. Did y'all get that? JJ ain't coming back. Tylee ain't coming back. Charles ain't coming back. Tammy ain't coming back. Alex ain't coming back. How much you want to bet? Ain't nobody coming back to be married to nobody else, a flower, a building, a helicopter. It's over. These lives could have possibly been spared had somebody took the initiative to bow out. Because you know what's going on in most people's heads? You're not thinking somebody's plotting your death. Oh, that's for television. That's Dateline, 48 Hours. Hey, those are real people on those shows they're talking about. And now you're one of those people. But you didn't think, Charles, obviously, you'd be a Dateline 48-hour story. You should have bowed out with that lady. And you friends should have bowed out. Because maybe possibly somebody would be alive in this story. Had somebody walked away from Lori Vallow, Daybell, Chad Daybell. But as I said, nobody thinks they're going to be murdered. Oh, yeah, I'm having problems with them. Yeah, we're not getting along. Yeah, I think they're cheating on me. Yeah, they're ignoring me. But you don't think they're going to kill you. Well, maybe it's time for people to think the worst case scenario as to preserve life. I don't know this person I've been sleeping with. They're talking around in circles and crazy people talk. So I'm going to think the worst just in case. I'm going to limit my dealings with him and her. And I'm going to talk to people to let them know my feelings in case something bad happens to me. And I'm going to pray that they don't harm me. And if I think they're going to harm me, or they're talking about death and killing me, I'm going to go to the authorities and let them know, just in case I do end up deceased. So then the police will know where to look. These children lied dead in a grave almost a year before authorities realized they needed to go check the property of Chad Daybell. And these two were walking around holding hands in Hawaii and ignoring the media and questions from family as if nothing had ever happened to these people, as if they never mattered. Tammy, Charles, Tylee, and JJ. Because they didn't matter. And whether you believe what they believe, that's neither here nor there. The point is, they believed it. In some sick fashion, I do believe they believe the things they told themselves. Now, one could say, well, they just spewed that out there because they knew they were going to kill these people. But like Vinnie Politan said, these people didn't even have the audacity to move in silence. They were putting this garbage out here, basically telling the people, hey, we're getting ready to murder these people. They just didn't say it. Hey, I'm going to kill them. And these people were so stupid, they didn't even see the damn signs. You've been sitting here walking around people, plotting the deaths of people. So, as I said before, if they could kill their children and their spouses, they could kill you too. And I won't doubt that Alex was murdered. Because you think they didn't put a bird in a little message to Zulema to say, I think he's this and that. He's going to turn on us. He's going to, because I think Zulema possibly knows more than what she's saying. You got to remember, once a person thinks they're going to be looped into a murder charge, they just going to give a little bit of this and a little bit of that to the police. They ain't gonna tell every damn thing they know. And she had to see the signs that something was wrong when these children went missing. And she had them know that they all had a part in the deaths. And who's to say she didn't have a part in having knowledge? Because you want me to believe that Alex never confessed things to her in secret? She just ain't telling us everything. If indeed she knows that these people were going to be murdered. And that'll be even more detrimental to know that this heifer was walking free and she knew these people were going to be killed. And Alex told her what he did to Tylee, JJ, and Charles. Imagine that. And she gets a free pass to stay out of prison. Blood clots, heart disease, they said was his cause of death. But what did we find out later? He had heart issues. He had blood clots. But maybe something helped him die sooner. What did I tell you about plotting people's murders? If you can plot 4, you can plot 5. And everybody was hanging on to each other's coattails willingly. Let me say that again. Willingly. Who's to say Chad and Lori didn't put a bug in Suleima's ear that Alex had also signed a contract with Satan and that he wasn't really using his talents for the Lord and he needed to be eliminated? Because you do have to ask that question in this storyline. Who was next? I want to thank you for your time. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Beganji, 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. Please follow my community page for updates and storylines. All information in this live stream has a source via the YouTube queue. Court TV is one of the sources for the information in this commentary. Fox 10 Phoenix, News Nation. My message today to anyone listening to this live stream is that you have to take responsibility for your own actions and your tongue and how you interact with people and the people you let in your inner circle and your peripheral. And when you meet people that aren't on the level that you are trying to be on and aspire to, you don't need to hang around them, because people can be a bad influence on you if you allow them in. And even if you don't agree with how they live and how they talk and how they walk, so long as they're in your peripheral, that omen spirit is in your peripheral. And that is something many people do not realize about being around certain people. The element ain't good. And when people are talking and doing things that you don't agree with, it's not to say that you're better than them, but it's not to your specifications. You have every right to bow out. And I think many people don't want to bow out because they don't want to hurt other people's feelings. But you need to preserve self, because self is first. And many people are incarcerated right now because they would not bow out. They continue to hang around people and date and marry people and get tangled up with people out of affection, loyalty, obligation, sex, obsession, infatuation, and you can't go back. Thank you, Lisa. And negativity is draining. And it is the devil's work, because the devil uses people to do his work. And a person may not even realize he or she is working for the devil. But he will put evil thoughts in your head. He will put evilness on your tongue. And he will cause you to become bitter, nonchalant, numb. And God will not want you to be that way. And if you see yourself acting that way, you need to check yourself. You need to pray about it. And if you see people you're around acting that way, you need to have a chit chat with them if you want to invest time with them and say, hey, I see you're having some issues. You seem negative lately. What's going on? If the behavior continues, they don't want to acknowledge, then it's up to you if you decide you want to be around them. But know that you are carrying that darkness with you because you're around them. I say don't be around it. Save yourself the trouble and aggravation later down the road. If it don't look right, 9 times out of 10, it ain't right. Self-preservation. 4 lives gone because nobody would speak up. And when the people were speaking up, which was Charles, nobody listened. If only he had checked out permanently. Perhaps he and those children will be alive today. We will never know. Thank you for your time. Have a blessed week. You have been listening to The Vault. Exhale.